Welcome to the Strido Unplugged Podcast for episode 2. Haley.
Welcome. It's great to be back for episode 2. Episode 1 was actually quite good. So there've been requests for episode 2, so let's get it stuck in.
Yeah, I think it's we're now, from the last episode, we've had a couple more sales. We've had a sale in Perth, we've had a sale in Tassie. Right now the English Premier sale is on. So we won't really cover too much of what. There's a lot of fast moving stats and a lot of wash up after the sales this week. But we want to just start to kind of turn around to like what our routine's been for the week and the ups and downs, see if we can tie it in with, you know, what's happening in the wider industry. The first thing I want to touch on, book club. I'm not a reader. I struggle to divert my mind into one task such as reading.
You prefer
video, audio, and one of the best things I've listened to of recent on Spotify, they have audiobooks. A book that I actually bought about 10 years ago is still in the wrapper. The value of it has gone up, but now that it's came out in audio form, I eventually got round to listening to it, which is the Robert Sangster Horse Trader.
Yeah, I'm also listening to it.
How far are you into it?
Not as far as you. Definitely not. I know you're a bit further ahead of me, but great book. I totally love it. I'm totally addicted to it.
So where are you at with the story? Like, where can you remember where you're at with it?
I actually haven't listened to it for a couple of days, but it was definitely when the first time that he'd gone to America.
Yeah,
Robert going to America.
To Keeneland.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he'd start to see the value that they were paying there. I think he'd already been a part of the Newmarket Bloodstock.
Yep.
And then where they'd done a bit of money, and all of a sudden he owned quite a few horses in Australia. And then obviously I went to Keeneland, so that's sort of where I'm up to.
So I've just finished the book.
Oh, you finished it?
Yeah, finished it. I think it's like 14 hours or 15 hours long. And I knocked it over in about 10 days. But a lot of like, driving, so you get 3 hours to the hunter, 3 hours back. There's half of the book nearly.
You've done better than me.
One of the listening to the book is obviously.
I would also like to say I am a reader, and I would like to read it, but it's currently in the garage, wrapped up in whatever it's wrapped up in. And you specifically said that I wasn't allowed to open it.
Yeah, because it's.
So I had to pay $36 to listen to it online.
Yeah, but it's like $1,000 for that book, that hard copy, and it's only going to go up because they don't print it.
Yeah, but I'm your wife.
I know, unfortunately. So getting back to the book, the main premise of why I want to kind of touch on it is getting an insight to the person that was Robert Sangster, the owner, how he got into horse racing, his connection with John Magnier, Coolmore, Vincent O'Brien. So as a kind of summary of the book for anyone who hasn't even heard of it or read it, it is on Spotify, and I understand it's free as part of like a premium service.
Oh, I have to pay for it.
So, getting back to it, so he talks about how they get into buying at Keeneland, racing with John Magnier, racing with Vincent O'Brien, what capital he had to put up, the learns of it. Very good listening to where the American market was at in the late 70s.
Yeah.
Their numbers went through the roof.
They were astronomical, right?
They went from, I can't remember off the top of my head, it was like the average was like 55,000 American in 1977. Now, these numbers could be totally inaccurate because I'm really pulling it from my memory. But at one point, they got up to like $4, $6, $8, $10 million for yearlings before the 2000s, which is incredible considering what we spend on yearlings here in Australia. So the premise was they were a conglomerate of those who went out to the yearlings. They wanted to be successful on the track. The American market was extremely strong, and to get horses to stand in Ireland, the covering fee was like £1,000 or £1,000, I think it was back then.
Yeah.
And how they wanted to increase the quality of stock being bred in Ireland, which obviously now is incredible. But he talks about the state was the man who has the best yearling is the man who buys them all, which I thought is really interesting when you see how the likes of Coolmore buy yearlings nowadays. You know, I'm guessing that blueprint still really does exist. It's really interesting, you know, like you look at where good horses come from. Obviously, Coolmore are one of a handful of dominant forces in Europe that really, you know, Aidan O'Brien's record's incredible coming on from Vincent O'Brien's. But I think it's interesting how they approach the sale process to get those good yearlings, the sires they selected, the farms in which they bought them off of, and Vincent O'Brien's thought process as well, because obviously he was training them, you know, Nijinsky, the Minstrel.
Serious horses.
Serious horses. And it's incredible when you listen to how they got them in their hands, got the best rider, obviously, like Lester Piggott. And heading into Golden Slipper this year, favourite, Storm Boy.
Paid a lot of money for him.
Paid a lot of money. Best yearling.
But
The best 2-year-old now.
if you look at him on Saturday, it's hard to see him get beat.
Something's got to get close to him, which
Nothing
is a
did
good.
on Saturday.
No, he's
He's gonna he puts them away without doing a whole lot of effort.
he's got that turn of foot and that stride, which is very hard to close out.
Who's gonna ride him in the slipper?
Well, it's a 50-50, isn't it? If it's apparently it's going to be either James McDonald or Ryan Moore.
It's tough. It's tough to take jockeys off when they've won on them, but it's already happened. Hippel's already been on and off him.
I think that's, from reading between the lines again, it's contractual.
Yeah, but it's still hard when you're talking about the amount of money that we're talking, and jockeys are winning on them, and then replacing them.
Is that because of the strength of the jockey room in Sydney? That you've got diversity in the options you can
But
have?
the top tier is top tier, and depends who you ask. I mean, trainers all have a different idea of that, don't they? I think if your horse is particularly tricky, then obviously you want to keep association. And in saying that, the old saying goes, good horses just win. You know, when you find yourself making excuses for horses, they probably aren't as good as what you think they are. Good horses just win into circumstances. But, I think so. I mean, regardless, he's still going to end up with a top-tier jockey on in the Golden Slipper, so we don't need to lose sleep about it. But I would be really reluctant to take jockeys off when they've been winning on them.
James has got one start for one win on him. Last year, Ryan Moore flew in, rode Shinzo, wins the Golden Slipper.
Yeah.
So you're concerned that someone who's never sat on the horse before, whether they need to, it does help, doesn't it, having a rider who's a bit more acquainted to the horse?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think so. I just think when you're talking about the money you're talking, it's really hard to why fix what's not broken, you know. Anyway, well, I can tell you for free is it's not going to be my worry.
No, and I think, as I say, getting back to the book of when you read what makes these operations successful, the thought process into it, you know, Lester Piggott, Pat Edry, they had the same experiences when they were riding for these major owners, major racing stables. They have the processes. I think we're living through it again now. We'll learn a little bit more on Saturday once Switzerland goes round. If I was betting on it, I assume James McDonald might keep the ride on Storm Boy, only because Switzerland could probably, if Switzerland wins, becomes the second favourite. Ryan Moore's already rode, you know, a Group 1 winner, Golden Slipper winner for Chris Waller in those colours. So that you're at the front of the market anyway. James McDonald has won on Storm Boy leading into it. I'm guessing James McDonald will ride Storm Boy, but you wouldn't be surprised if Ryan Moore's on it. So I don't know. But again, it's back to that book. For anyone who's not read horse trader.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate. I definitely think it was epic. Oh, I mean, I'm obviously, you've obviously finished it, so you know a bit more than me. But I've really been enjoying it, driving to the races or driving somewhere to film to watch it. Even from a business perspective, it gives you a little bit of gumption, you know.
Yeah.
Because he, you know, it's just funny listening to how he evolved from being an outsider to the industry, being really interested in it, and then just immersing himself in racing and being as successful as what he was. It's pretty epic.
Yeah, and it's the background of how they went to the sales. Obviously, when the McToom family came into it, the competition for those horses, the realisation that the value of what they were paying for, which I thought was interesting because his numbers were escalating. The American market was dependent on these guys buying.
Yep.
And at some point, they got to a point where they all had dinner together. They were in each other's company to discuss, you know, where are we going with this? Obviously, the McToom family's access to funds was beyond extensive, and what the Coolmore brand were building and Robert Sangster was exceptionally well constructed of where they wanted to go, but you can't spend those numbers consistently 5 years, 10 years, 20 years increase as they were. But I won't spoil it for anyone. I would strongly recommend anyone who's not read Horse Trader.
I think I got mine on Apple Books. I got mine on Apple Books, and then you can get it on Apple and Spotify.
Yeah, it's but very, very good. Would strongly recommend people go and have a bit of a listen. And segueing into listening to how good horses come about, these horses that are north of 6 million, 10 million, these numbers aren't quite replicated in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to look at, from your experience being racing manager to Joe Pride, who I wouldn't say is an excessive buyer at a sale. Stables always full. Last year he wins the Everest with Think About It, owned by a syndication, bought from a major stud by So You Think, and the horse was bought for 70,000. Give us a bit of a run through of your experiences with Joe, of the horses he was successful with, the family of like Tierra Vista, Tiger Tease, and then latterly in your time there, Eduardo. Give us a bit of an insight to how those horses come into Joe's hands and how he maybe approached the sales process to get these horses in his care.
Yeah, Joe's always he's never been a huge active buyer at the sales, but when he has bought, he's always bought pretty well. He's always had if you ever speak to Joe, he always talks about people staying in their lane. You know, he always says, "I'm never going to tell my farrier how to shoe," or "I'm never going to tell my dentist how to dentist." So he always sort of had himself as, I'm a racehorse trainer, I can value a good horse, I can see a good horse, but I'm not a bloodstock agent going out to buy 100 horses every year. He was also really popular enough to be given quite a lot of horses. And maybe, I think when I was with him, we would, over the sales season, I think at the most we ever bought was maybe like 7 or 8. Like, really?
But over the whole season?
Like, over the whole season, like, actively putting his hand up and signing for them. There's maybe a couple at the sales where we'd meet up with clients, but they would buy them and then give them to him. But he maybe had identified them. But, you know, he wasn't always huge for over the sales season for going in the ring and battling it out. He just liked the horses he liked, and if he didn't like them, well, he wasn't buying them.
Yeah.
As for when I arrived in the stable, I was so lucky because Tiger Tease, Terra Vista, and Ball of Muscle were already there.
Well, all three at the same
all
time?
All 3 of them at the same time. And they were almost stabled next to each other, and they were a funny trio, all by different sires, obviously. And the mare did a really good job.
So who was the mare?
Tiger Tease.
Parkour?
No, Par 4 was the mare.
Par 4 was there,
yeah. Par 4 was the mare. When Tiger Tease didn't really have much time for anyone. He was he was quite like his own peace and quiet. And Terra Vista was slightly more accommodating, but one straight up from that.
Yeah.
And then the founder brother was Ball of Muscle, where he was just They thought he was a little bit softer than the other two, but he was a nicer type. He was very much like his dad. He had the jowls like his dad, like Dubawi, where the other two were sort of big, boring orange horses, if you like.
Tierra Vista, he was Captain Rio.
Captain Rio, which was funny because at the time we had 2 Captain Rios in the stable. One was Terra Vista and one was a stable pony.
So you just didn't want to send the wrong one to Flemington.
But that just showed you how good the mare was,
So did they come from sales or did they come from the same owner?
No, they were bred and then came, and there was a little bit before my time, and there was a little bit of politics, but some people were in all 3, some people were only in 1, some people were in there wasn't the same ownership spread out between all 3. It was definitely different. So yes, I was lucky enough that we had horses like that already in the stable, and for a racing manager it was a dream come true, because those 3 boys, don't get me wrong, it was the end of their career. I didn't have Tiger very long. Terry we did, and his last run was quite sad actually, because I don't really, it was quite a shame where he had his last start up in Scone, and then Ball Muscle was a trooper. Just the one thing that was so amazing in that was that those horses had terrible feet, like and Joe managed to keep them sound.
Yeah,
and that was actually a really hard job to do, because there's plenty of trainers that they could have gone to that wouldn't have kept them as sound as what they did.
So who was the oldest of the 3?
Tiger.
So Tiger T's showed something early.
Yeah, he was probably. I need to probably ask Joe's opinion, but of my opinion, I think he was the toughest.
He was the toughest.
He was the toughest.
Showed enough early. Then Tierra Vista was the next one.
Yep.
So hypothetical.
I think actually at one point, I need to have a look. I think at one point did we run all 3 in the Moya?
I think you ran 2 in the Moya.
2 in the Moya?
I think so.
I need to have a look. It was quite a long time ago.
On the Tiger T's and Tierra Vista, I reckon, faced off in the Moya.
Yeah, that was quite unique. So obviously I was at the end of Tiger's career, so I didn't get to see many of his runs. And then mostly it was Ball Muscle. He was my ultimate favourite horse when I was there.
So hypothetical, just to try and give a bit of perspective of how ownership groups come about, especially in these, it's easy saying it when horses are good horses, but it's always getting a bit of an understanding of why they were in different colours if they were from the same family.
There was a bit of politics there that I wasn't privy to. I actually wasn't aware of everything, because I wasn't there when the horses first came. So I was pretty much there when they were already established and up and racing. So I actually am not aware of how they ended up sorting that out. But I just remember that not everyone was in every horse. Somewhere, maybe it's only 2 or 3 that actually were. Yeah. And then some were only in 1 or 2 or 3 of them. But still, when there were siblings, they were all still cheering on the siblings, because it only helped out them. Yeah. But no, I mean they were great. They were unreal horses. And they had a great group of owners that went to the races and followed them around. And another really special little horse who unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago in his retirement was Destiny's Kiss. Oh yeah, Destiny's Kiss. And I used to call him the credit card, because he wasn't very big. He was quite low. You couldn't really ever have much weight on him, and he never looked light on. He was just always athletic. Even on a spell, he was always athletic. He was a great horse to have around the stable. What was he by? Funny Stallion. Love Conquers All, was it? No. He didn't produce much. He's actually, I seen him advertised online the other day. God, what's that stallion called? You won't believe me when I tell you. Power of Destiny. Power of Destiny? Yeah. So was he a sales horse? I think Nick bought him. So Nick Moreiras? I think Nick bought him, but it was out of a Fairy's Kiss. Let me just have to double check, because again, he was already in the stable before I was there. Yeah. But he was Nick Moreiras's. Yep. Let me just double check that result, because I don't know whether he bred him and then he went back through. Yep. For Nick. But he was like, he would stay all day. He was, and it was, I remember at the end of his last sort of run, I do remember the commentator saying this horse as he came around the bend has seen more
Prime Minister.
prime ministers in Australia. Yeah, so he passed in at $8,000, but he went through Macquarie Stud, and I'm so sure that Nick owned that mare, Fairy's Kiss.
So
I think Nick.
It passed in.
For 8,000.
And he multiple group winner in particular. He used to win the kind of same race every single
I
year.
don't think he won a Group 1.
No, multiple group. Just he won a couple of stakes races.
He won a couple of stake races. And he raced up until I'm so sure because we had to get him checked over by the stewards. He was either 10. I think he might have been 9 or 10 at the time that the stewards were like, oh, he's been up and going. Obviously every time a horse got trotted up or any vet notes, I would put it straight into the system. And I was at Joe's 5 years, and he was there way before me. When he was retiring, I looked and said, Joe, he's only ever been trotted up once, the whole time he's been in your career. And that's how sound he was. He was there's nothing ever wrong with him, but he was just a bit of a workhorse. Like if we sent him out for a spell, he used to go to Jazzcom, and they'd call us and say, like, he's been here for 3 days and he's standing at the gate. You know, he literally would put his head down for 2 days and say, when can I come back in? So
he needed routine.
And that was like something that when he retired, Joe was like, you can't go stand in the paddock, he's going to be miserable. And he actually went home with one of the girls who strapped him the most at Joe's. She actually no longer worked there anymore, but she had a place down in Goulburn.
Yep.
And then she actually took him, what do you call that when they go endurance riding?
Okay,
she took him like low level endurance riding, and he loved that because he was just a workhorse and that's and he did get fat and happy down there, but it would have taken him a very long time to let down because that wasn't his natural look. But you know, and horses like him, he was a trooper, Cup's king. Every time there was a Cup, he won it.
Yeah.
And he had several men. He had Jay Ford, he had Hugh Bowman, he had Jason Colley. He had so many jockeys on him, that could ride the way or was available or whatever. But everyone wanted to ride him because you were guaranteed to get a win. So he was a great horse.
He was one putting Joe's care.
Yep.
Similar to the Par 4 family. Again, year after year, Joe Pride gets a good horse.
Yep.
I'm only using Joe as an example because you've got a bit of a prolonged relationship with Joe, which allows us to kind of gauge where these good horses come from.
Yep.
One of the most recent ones was Eduardo.
Yeah.
A horse that I don't think he raced until he was 4.
Yeah, he was really light on, and he was actually, it was a bit of a find because he was identified by one of the owners that was in him.
Yep.
That actually brought him to Joe's attention. He said, "Oh, I've seen this horse," and then when he was pitched to owners, everyone was like, "Absolutely, let's have a go," and God, the rest was history.
Because I remember, I'm just quickly looking up, I remember he'd won at the carnival, the Melbourne Spring Carnival, if I remember right. And he's by host, not a particularly flashy stallion.
Not a particularly flashy stallion, but I have seen a couple of them, and they're bread and butter horses. There's nothing much wrong with them. But obviously, looking at him, he wasn't by a commercial stallion, he was by a Chilean stallion, and there's not been many of them.
I don't really know how Joe would, like, what did, without obviously giving away the privacy of it, but when he changed hands, he'd run in a Group 1, he was Group 1 placed in the Oakley Plate, he was a Group 2 winner, Group 2 placed, and then in his last 4 starts before transferred over, he was Group 2 placed, running Group 1s. How did Joe manage to purchase that horse? Because this is before English. This was private.
It was private. We just did. It's not enough money. The original people that owned him at the time when he was in Melbourne also stayed in.
Yep.
They just had a significantly less share, and then the rest of Joe's owners went in, and a couple of others that we hadn't raced with before. Looking at him, he looked like a little bit of a pump because he was by host. Yep. But he had form there to back it up. Joe has an exceptional talent of placing horses, and being able to look at that. he was able to show the upside to our clients to say, look, we could place him. He could come here to Sydney. This is how I would place him, and it becomes exceptional value.
Yep.
You know, Sarah, who did train him before, was so lovely, and she was so devastated to lose him. Actually,
Yeah, I can imagine.
You know, having a horse like that in your hands, and she didn't have many horses in work. But Joe, like, always mentioned her in his in any of his interviews that she'd done a really good job on starting the horse and getting him to where he was. So that was quite a nice relationship, because that would have been really hard for her, because she wouldn't have many horses, and then to watch him come up here and do what he did, you know, that would have been quite sad, I imagine.
So, just trying to always find, is there any thread in which linked all of these successes, apart from Joe being the trainer? You know, was there any particular types, bloodlines?
No, but if you compare all three of those horses, they were all. If you stood them all up in a line, they came in all shapes and sizes. Destiny's Kiss was a tiny little sausage.
Yep.
And he was. I used to call him the credit card because he looked transparent. He was that little.
Yeah.
And then Ball of Muscle was huge.
Yep.
You know, he was a big, strong horse. And he was heavy. He was a proper sprinting type. You know, Terry and Tiger were sort of. It's a bit mean to say, but they were a little bit boring looking. You know, they're just big orange horses.
Plain.
Whereas Eduardo wasn't very big. He was only about 15.2, I think, maybe 15.3 at the most. All shapes and sizes. The one thing, and it seems really simple to say, the one thing was that Joe had a system that they all went through, and he trusted that system. He never once would never trust a system and start doing something random. He had the same system.
Yep.
And it works for horses like Destiny's Kiss, who was a mudlark over a trip when you couldn't run him far enough, to horses like Ball of Muscle, who really loved 5-6 furlongs. It worked.
So again, trying to find these, you know, we all go to the sales, you know, the horses that are on the Strido ownership marketplace. Everyone's picking these horses on a particular type they like, a sire, ones that might suit the particular trainer it's sent to. Price point as well is obviously vitally important. Just trying to find the best yearling as per what they were talking about in the horse trader. Now, they had a big pool of money to go and buy what they deemed to be the best horse in the Northern Hemisphere. The market here in Australia is a lot less, the average prices. Looking at what Joe has in the stable at the moment, think about it. The Premier sales on at the moment, Joe's Everest winner was bought for 70,000 from that sale. Yeah. What was he there when you were at Joe's? Think about it.
Let me just have a look at his breeding quickly. I think that's Spud. So for anyone who doesn't know.
So you think out of Tiare?
Tiare, then yes. He was just bought. I hadn't seen a whole lot of him. He was maybe a yearling when I left.
Yep.
Maybe just a 2-year-old. He's a proper example of where Joe Pride and Jamie Walter come together.
Yep.
Jamie does a really thorough due diligence look through the book beforehand. So when he's going to the sale, is a really good idea.
Yep.
And then when he gets to the sale and he has another look at them, then he teams them up and see, because he's got a couple of trainers, Jamie. You know, of where they're best suited. A lot of his buys in the Goldie would go to Stephen O'Day.
And for anyone who doesn't know, Jamie Walter is a licensed syndicator, and he owns Proven Thoroughbreds.
Yep.
Licensed syndicators generally can purchase their horses and then place it with the trainer. But Jamie doesn't have a wide berth of trainers. He has 2 or 3 that he would maybe send them to. With that,
yeah, he's changed a little bit over time, but Jamie's always done a really good job of, if you're able to purchase a horse and they're not, you know, wherever he wants them to be is Group 1 quality, but they can't all be Group 1 quality. So if they're not Group 1 quality, Jamie has set up a system that they've always got somewhere to go and win.
Yep.
So whether it be Queensland, whether it be New South Wales, whether it be country, provincial, metro, he always had a really good expense where he covered that ground.
Yep.
And he was an exceptional buyer.
And guys, and Joe, is he pigeonholed? Does he have the ability to buy a horse and win over distances, or like is he a sprint trainer? Like, how would you describe Joe to someone who didn't know?
Very versatile.
Yeah.
Very versatile. Like, I know he's had great luck with his sprinters, as in the Group 1 realms.
Yep.
With the horses that we've seen the last couple of years, but he was very versatile. And actually really good with mares as well. He's had some really good mares come up and like horses like Sacred Choice or I'm a Lady and Fasika. Like they were all great horses. I think he's very versatile.
And looking at what he's got in his stable at the moment, Maramia.
Yeah.
Online purchase.
Yeah.
Not a cheap online purchase. It was 335,000, I think it was.
Yep.
But I think it's interesting to see where these again, we're just trying to find where these horses come from.
Yeah.
And
I think a huge part of that, right? So we can go in. What sales are they coming from? What signs are they coming from? And a huge part of this is you can go to the sales and buy the best horse there, but it depends the environment that you put it in next.
Yep.
If you put it in an environment maybe it's not quite right for the horse. If the horse needs a little bit of time, but you've placed it with someone who wants 2-year-olds, and or maybe it is a fast horse and you've given it to someone who just gives everything time and you don't get the best out of it early. Yep. I think it's a huge, we can pick the bones of it, of where the best horses come from, but you can still buy the best horse and put it in the wrong environment and not end up with the result you get, the result you want.
So looking at some of the stats, again, if you go into the Strido ownership marketplace, there's different price points of what yearlings were purchased at. We're still early in the year with a lot of PDSs still coming through. Predominantly on the website at the moment, we have Magic Millions.
Yeah.
Because obviously that's the first sale of the year. A lot of buyers seem to be very active there. And I was just having a look at some of the stats from the 2022-2023 season. So obviously we're the season just gone. There was, guess how many individual Group 1 winning horses won the 75 Group 1 races. So 75 Group 1 races, how many individual horses won those races?
So my maths brain went to it must be 75, but I see what you're saying. A couple of them have won a couple.
Yeah.
So I was like, is this guy not quite right? I would imagine that many of them string that many together,
Because Group 1s.
Yeah.
Yep.
So out of the 75, maybe 57 of them have won them.
Could spin in the roulette. 60 individual
60 was my first answer, and then I was like, oh, that's a bit rounded, so I went something random. 57. That's not bad.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think it's interesting to see when you get to that level of I think there is 75 Group 1s. Forgive me if I'm incorrect, but that's in Australia. That's not including New Zealand.
Who trains the majority of them?
Who do you think trained the most amount of Group 1 winners?
It'd have to be Waller.
Yes. Chris won 12.
Okay. Who's next?
Equally running for the silver medal.
Kieran
was one of them.
Oh, there's 3 of them.
There was 2 people.
2 people running for second.
Yep. So Chris was number 1 with 12.
I'm going off of what I see most weekends, but also the biggest stables. Be Kieran and Godolphin.
Correct. And then after that, there's a lot of trainers that won multiple, like Mick Price had multiple Group 1 winners. Joe Pride. There was quite a diversity after that. Willie Haggis had 2 Group 1s.
What was the main, what was the most, you've obviously been looking at this and bringing it up in a spreadsheet. What was the most interesting fact that you've came across with those Group 1 horses?
Interesting. If I was trying to find a thread to what makes a successful Group 1 horse, Magic Millions yearling sale dominates across the years. Now, don't get me wrong, there was 1,400 horses in that sale this year.
Yeah.
So that's a lot. And obviously buyers the average was 278,000, I think, this year.
Yep.
So it's a quality sale. That would be my first takeaway, was the amount of winners that came from that sale. Easter, how many individual Group 1 winners do you think came from that 75 Group 1s?
English Easter. Well, that's where some of the better pedigrees are supposed to come from.
Yep.
But they are a good bit later. But mind you, we're at Group 1 now, so it doesn't really matter. Like a number or a percentage?
Just a number of how many individual horses won Group 1s from Easter from the 75.
20.
2.
22 or just 2?
No, just 2. But
That's interesting.
as I would say, but remember, there's only 400 horses or something catalogued at Easter.
It's a small catalogue.
And the way they're trained, they can also go to Hong Kong, because this isn't taken into the Hong Kong market, the New Zealand.
The
So
imported.
really, if I did break it down, you probably pay a bit more for Easter, but the pedigrees hold their value as well. So a lot of these fillies, this is just Group 1. So I would imagine if you broke down the Group 2 and the Group 3s, the stats would still stack up pretty strong from Easter.
No, but that's interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, considering, if we were trying to buy a horse, Easter is a bit more refined. They pull a smaller pool of buyers, higher averages, probably smaller pool of trainers training these horses.
Yeah.
Without, we're not trying to demonize that sale, because it's extremely strong.
How many were online purchases?
I think 3.
That's interesting.
Because you're Mia.
You can buy one online and win a Group 1.
You can.
Which, talking about horses that you can buy online and win group races with, Derby's is on a track for that.
Cabalis. Incredible.
That is incredible. Like, don't be wrong. What did they pay for him? 350?
I think off the top of my head, north of 300, so maybe 350, 325, I think, off the top of my head.
Like, it's a bit of a punt online. He's coming out of one of the best stables in Sydney.
Well, he's number 1 Group 1 producing stable in the country.
He's Entire.
Yep.
He's been bought by Coolmore. How much did they buy him at for as a yearling?
I think he was $1 million plus. I think he was
Okay.
and you can see
So
it when
some
you
good
see
judges have seen him. So I suppose if you weigh it up, somebody somewhere valued him at way more than what you were currently buying him at, for a reason.
Yep.
It's not for nothing. But to buy one online for that amount of money, that's a bit of a punt, really. You're not buying a Mickey Mouse horse, because the end of the day, they all cost the same to train.
Yeah.
Right, but so they bought him for that, brought him to the races, and Bjorn's just managed to improve this horse from what he was doing to what he is now doing.
Yeah, I'm just having a quick look. So as a yearling at Easter again, bought at Easter. He's bought from B-Man. He was $1 million.
Yep, great
$1 million
farm.
Australian. Online in October, he was bought for 315,000, which is still above the average of what you pay for yearlings.
Yeah. But he's already made. He's already made in the sense of you're literally putting a saddle on him and sending them to the races. Whereas when you're spending that for yearlings, you've got to bide your time until you can get them to the races.
Yeah, but I think that's part of the experience as well. There's we all get caught up in the dream of it. We've all had a share in a horse, and
that time from buying a yearling to the time you get to races, you could be hopeful. You can live in the dream.
The horse is a good canter, and it comes as an owner update, and your brain goes to what tie you're going to wear at the Golden Slipper.
That's a part of the dream, though.
But if you look at Derby Racing, who are on the Stroud ownership marketplace, they bought Cabalis by I'm Invincible from the online sale, which was trained by Chris Waller, owned by Coolmore. Again, they're looking for stallions. Number is their goal, and this horse still has a lot of upside. When he was sold, he'd only had 5 starts. He was a winner as a 2-year-old, and he ran 9th in the up and coming stakes, behind Tom Kitten. So I'm assuming he was given every opportunity. Went online, and the guy's had to fork up a lot of money for what was a 2-year-old handicap winner. He's had 2 trials for Beyond where he won both of them, won by 3.5 lengths. Went to Rose Hill, won a benchmark 72, which in Sydney that prize money's still 105,000 to the winner.
Good for the purse.
Then he went to the Eskimo Prince and caught a few of them, probably with fitness. He won there 141,000. So at this point, for a 315,000 outlay, he's won 246,000 in one prep in under 6 months. Then on Saturday, we seen him step out at Flemington, where he ran third, picked up 90,000. So that would put him just above what they bought him for. Again, diversity of where good horses come from. That was an online purchase. Derby are having a fantastic year with Overpass.
They're just about to unleash some really nice horses.
Do you think that's numbers, but I would say they're probably numbers-wise, they would be in the top echelon of the amount of horses and
horses that they own.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, that obviously helps when you've got numbers, but over the years, they have bought exceptionally well. They have a number of mares being bought by the top buyers in Asia, as well as stallions. It's huge.
Yeah, no, I think it's, again, just trying to get back to where they...
Good horses come from. 100%. But Derby's got a lot of numbers on the board, but they've bought exceptionally well.
Yeah, I don't know what their average is, but they don't... They
We'll put it this way. They managed to buy a 20 grand slipper winner.
She will reign.
She'll reign.
And Yankee Rose, I think, was under 20,000 as well.
You know, and that's it. That is a diversity that I suppose they offer. They're buying horses for 315,000 online, and then they're buying $20,000 yearlings, and still getting exceptional results.
And where do you think the biggest value is? Why would you race with we're talking about Joe horses training by him as an example. Now we're starting to go into the licensed syndication side. Syndications is, I think I could name about 100 licensed syndicators in Australia, but there's 4,000 plus licensed trainers. Do you believe that some syndications and trainers select horses better than others? Do you think they've got a better pool of funds to purchase from? Do you think they've, from a business point of view, do you think they've refined?
What I will tell you from being a racing manager for as long as I made that as if it was 40 years, it was 5. To get a horse to win a race, the stars have to align. It's really hard to win a race. It is. I know we see them every day, but the stars do have to align.
Yep.
You know, you need the right horse in the right race with the right jockey in the right track at the right time, right trainer, blah, blah, blah. It goes on. This game is a great leveler, and a lot of it is about luck. So I think it depends the position that you're in now. You know, if you ask Joe when he first started, the caliber of horse he had then, to the caliber of horse that he had when I was his racing manager, to the caliber of horse he has now.
Yep.
Like, we had some great horses when I was there, like Tervis the Tiger Tease, Ball of Muscle, but when I went, we're just having a look at what he had the other day, he's got an even better caliber from there. So I think it goes down to your processes, where you're at in your career, you know, and being able to have, and this is one thing that Joe taught me, being able to have a system that works, and a system that works for you. So whether you're a syndicator buying horses, or placing them with trainers, or a trainer training horses, it's down to the system that you've got. So
Joe's having a good year, and you look at such, as I say, like one of the syndications who are on Strido's ownership
Derby
marketplace, like Derby Racing. You think processes are important?
Huge.
Buying from particular sales, increase or decrease the opportunity to have a good horse, also diversifies your ability to spend as well. What do you think was the lowest priced Group 1 winner last year?
That could be anything, because we've just talked about a slipper winner coming from 20 grand. Behemoth was
7, I think.
7,000 online, so that could be anything. The lowest price Group 1 winner.
Group 1 winner last year.
I'm trying to stay in a safe comfort zone, so I'm going to say somewhere around 50,000.
Oh, no. No. Lot lower.
A lot lower. 10.
Close. 3,000.
What?
Call
What is this?
sign Mav of Danny O'Brien's.
$3,000 online or at a sale?
One moment, please. Your call is important to us.
Please stay on the line
Stay on your line.
while we find out who the genius was that did this. They probably had a very good process.
Just, sorry guys. Just trying to find where this horse was purchased from.
You didn't add that to your spreadsheet at the
No,
time?
it's on there. I just can't find it. It's gone astray. Oh, yeah, sorry. So, call sign Mav was bought by, or trained by Danny O'Brien. It's bought from the New Zealand National Weanling Broodmare and Mixed sale in 2017 for 3,000, but from a major stud in Windsor Park.
Okay.
So excellent breeders.
Yep.
Good judge. Obviously, like Danny O'Brien said, a
Who
lot of.
bought it?
I would need to go back through it. All I can really see here is Danny O'Brien trained it, who is again good trainer, multiple Group 1 winner. I think he won the Melbourne Cup a couple of years ago.
I'm so intrigued by this. How do I spell it?
Call CALL SIGN.
One word.
Yeah, call sign
SIGN
Mav.
MAV.
Yep.
I just want to see if it comes up here so I can have this and see who bought it. Oh, I'm not getting it.
Anyway, so call sign Mav, it was bought for 3,000. New Zealand National Weanling Sale, Group 1 winner last year. It wins the Rupert Clark Stakes. So again, sourcing winners.
So,
From
where do good horses come from? Anywhere and everywhere.
common denominator there, good breeders.
Yep.
Multiple Group 1 winning stable.
Good environment.
Wasn't a trick shot. There's no reason that they shouldn't be having a good horse. As we know, they come from anywhere. Trying to find another stat to ask you a question. Number 1 horse last year. Which horse won the most amount of Group 1s last year? And I'll give you a tip. It was 6 Group 1s at one.
Imperative.
No. Probably before she hit her straps. He's just gone at the stud.
Oh, all right. He's retired. Animo.
Correct.
Oh.
Another question for the quiz time here for the last 10 minutes of the podcast. Looking at 75 sales, according to my stats, how many individual sellers produced the 75 Group 1 winners? Now, there's an asterisk on this.
Okay.
You've got to deduct homebred horses and international. They weren't accounted for in this number.
I'll tell you, you've got quite the rules for this spreadsheet.
Again, I just didn't have the time to go down that rabbit hole.
So how many individual breeders would have so we've established that there was 60 individual Group 1 winners.
Yes.
Yeah. So there were 75 Group 1s won, but there was 60 of them individuals.
But that also includes internationals and the homebreds,
I tell
such
you,
as Animal.
I'd love to see the rules on this spreadsheet.
So I'll just ask you the question again.
Yep.
75 Group 1s last year.
Yep.
30 individual sellers were part of this.
30 individual
list.
sellers. Okay. Yep. How
I'll
many?
just give you the answer.
Oh, it was
by
30?
mistake. Yeah, so I didn't mean to do that there.
I thought you were going to tell me 30.
Sorry. But so then
Okay, so there's 30 individual breeders
30 individual breeders
/ sellers. Because
deducting homebreds and internationals
Yep.
produced 75 of the winners last year. So Animo had 6, he'd be a homebred, he's not included in that 30.
Yep.
But let's just say
So on average, they're producing 2.5 each. I'm not really good at maths.
yeah, I'm trying to go with that one. Who do you think produced the most individual Group 1 winners
As a seller?
as a seller?
Well, my brain goes to the stud farms, obviously.
Yeah, yep.
The Hunter is notorious.
The Studs and the Hunter.
I'm either going to go with Sedgenho or Newgate.
Close,
Oh,
but neither.
out with that.
One of those ran second.
Sedgenho ran second.
Sedgenho was second with
Okay.
three individual.
Group 1 winners. So the studs is in the Hunter. Do we look after them?
We don't work with them.
We don't work with them?
Prominent stud.
Coolmore.
No.
All right. Who is it?
Sledmere.
Wow. Great.
4 individual Group 1 winners. Sedgenho and Curramore stud were equal on 3.
Yep.
That's just individual horses. Obviously, they produce multiple.
Mm.
Those horses win 2 or 3 races. Like In Secret
Yeah.
was Sedgenho's. It won 2 Group 1s. But just trying to individualise how difficult it is to get a good Group 1 horse. Again, just to close it out, we'll keep the quiz for anyone that's still listening. Out of those 75, again, asterisk, I think it's 75 Group 1s, how many of those individual Group 1 winners were priced under 100,000? Some of these won multiple races, and this isn't including homebreds.
Under what amount?
100,000.
Under 100,000. I wouldn't have said many, but obviously the lowest Group 1 winner was a $3,000 purchase. So out of the 75 individual, can we say that maybe 35 of them?
No, too high.
Too high?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if anyone's listening at home, 75 Group 1s, how many of those individuals
15.
were purchased for 100?
15.
16.
Not bad. The first one was a bit white, but...
Looking at close to what the average of the kind of major sales are, what
Mm.
Magic Millions I think was 310,000
The
last year.
Yep.
What about individual horses that were purchased between 100,000 and 250,000?
I want to say like 30 of them.
No, 9. So there was more 100,000 sub individual winners.
Then,
And that's obviously not including like the Everest, which you obviously think about it at 70,000.
that's not a group race, is it?
No.
So obviously you've got the spreadsheet in front of you that you're quizzing me from.
Yep.
Where do good horses come from?
Well, as in, what do you mean? Where
Well,
did,
exactly. Can you give if someone was to say to you, where can you go and find a good horse?
I think
Somewhere between $3,000 and 100,000.
it's 16 of them. But then what about priced over 250,000?
Well, that's going to leave me with 20.
No,
No, it's not. Maths is really bad.
this is not countdown for you.
Well, we've had 75. There's been 10 or whatever under 100,000. 15. It needs to be more than that then.
No,
Not more than that.
I'll give you a clue. Not more than the 16 individuals that won under 100,000, but it's more than the 9 that were in that 100.
13.
11.
Do you know, that was my first one. I just thought it was too beige. What we have established is my maths isn't the greatest.
And what do you think the average purchase price was of every horse that passed through the ring and sold of the 75, excluding obviously the...
90.
No.
Well, what was that then?
Higher.
150.
209,000, 593,000.
So on average, you want to be around that mark?
Yeah, so if I was giving you my summary...
Yep.
You purchase from the major breeders.
Yep.
Because their track record of producing horses at that level is consistency.
At Magic's?
It seems to be Magic Millions, but again, that's because their catalogue is
It's
like 1,400
Mm-hmm.
1,400 horses catalogued from that sale, and they're generally earlier types, and they can race across the board. The major stables dominate the Group 1s again. Chris Waller, Kieran Maher, James. That is again lotto tickets. So the more lotto tickets you have, the more opportunity you have to get these good horses. Bigger buying power, more diversity at sales. The leading sale house, 23 individual group wins came from Magic Millions. But again, English wouldn't be far behind because Karaka had 15, which is incredible if you actually think about it. Considering they have one major sale and a few really good sales after it.
Yep.
What do you think the most expensive yearling was?
I'd be $1 million plus. There was one in there.
No.
There wasn't one in there?
No.
600?
No. 900.
900. So that was close.
In secret, trained by the second top trainer, James Cummings, with leading stud Sejinho out of Eloping. I think off the top of my head she was by I'm Invincible, I think off the top of my head.
Really?
Please forgive me if I'm wrong. So I think just to surmise on it, the man who buys the best yearling is the man who buys them all. Very true. Chris Waller, major buyer, leading Group 1 producer, same as Kieran Maher. The studs with the biggest drafts have the most amount of Group 1s. They sell at the biggest sales, plenty of sales throughout the year. Consistency-wise, that seems to be my synopsis is looking at the major studs, at the bigger sales, trained by the biggest stables.
Okay, so that was good food for thought. Also worth knowing, we are going to write a blog on this.
Yep.
So it'll be written form on Friday.
Yep.
By a blog writer who will be able to put this together, which is quite fun. That was very interesting, Dave, because obviously Carnival's it's upon us. So we're about to see where the rest of them come from.
Yep.
But that was great. I was quite intrigued by that.
So so if you get 209,000 to spend
at Magic's,
just in general, if you get 209,000, you can buy that horse outright. But if your budget is between 5 to 30,000, you increase your opportunity of buying a Group 1 winner in Australia. And just to close out, these are just some stats. Blue Diamond winner this year. A stable that wasn't mentioned in that list the year before was Clinton McDonald. Winner of the Blue Diamond, 47,500 for the Blue Diamond winner as a weanling. Number 1, 2-year-old Storm Boy, bought for 460,000 above that number. Trained by Gay Waterhouse, now owned by Coolmore, again tying it back into the book. Then you go, it's diversity across the board with, the Australian Guineas winner on Saturday, raced by a syndication, bought for 300,000, trained by Kieran Maher, again major stable, and it goes on all the way through. And probably the lowest horse outside of Hayasugi on my list here was Fully Lit by Hellbent, raced by a syndication, Red Fox Racing, but trained by a major stable, and Waterhouse bought from English Classic sale. So again, we're not pushing the Magic Millions card too hard there. That shows that they can come from anywhere. Weanling sales online,
New Zealand.
So I would be interested to see as horses continue to sell on Strido, diversity of when someone visits there's every price point, every trainer, different states.
Just on that, so we've just got just about 30 horses there with multiple shares available from the earlier season this year.
Yep.
Have you got a horse on there that you'd like to identify? Is there a horse on there that you think just now, knowing the stats that you've just known, that fits into that credential?
If I had...
You're on Stridle.
I'm on Stridle. relevance. I'm going to use relevance from Saturday in the weekend.
Yep.
If I was spending a bit of money, I would go maybe the Written Tycoon or a Bella.
That was my choice.
Derby Racing.
Derby Racing.
But based on Derby Racing...
200 he was bought for 280 at Magic's.
Yep.
Arabella by a Superstar out of a 2-year-old winning mare.
Yep.
Jump and Run 2-year-old family. 10 individual Group 2 winners.
Major Farm and Yulong.
Major Farm. Pedigree highlighted by 2 signs in her bloodlines and King Legacy and not a single doubt.
But then if you wanted to go the Sledmere route,
Yep.
who are the leading producers of Group 1 winners, individual Group 1 winners, then the Martha Heights, again, Derby Racing.
Yep.
Major buyers. Trained by Major Stable. I think it's trained by... I'm not going to say it because I'll be wrong because they use different trainers.
I tell you a little horse that is quite popular in Stridle at the moment that quite a few quite like is Matt Dunn's Spirit of Boom shorthand.
Yes.
It was 132,000, 130,000 bought at Magic Millions.
Yep.
Spirit of Boom loves running around Queensland. Queensland loves Spirit of Boom.
Champion sire up there.
Champion sire up there. It's a really popular horse on there. They've had so many inquiries on it. A lot of people really like it. I think the beauty of being with Matt Dunn is you're the beauty of both states. You're right on that. You can go racing. And that even when we spoke to him at Magic's, he spoke about the beauty of being able to buy those horses that were both Bobs and Cutis.
Yes.
Because he can double up on it. I'm not sure if this horse is Bobs and Cutis. It'll be Cutis, obviously.
But just to chime in there, that's obviously the top end of town where again is where the average suggests the good horses come from. From the buying pool, from the studs. If I was going with a slightly lower buying ability, a price point, I would try, again this is against the stats, Jack Pilkington has one on there.
Oh yeah. The Tassort?
Tassort. Sire of Manal, who won the Sweet Embrace on Saturday.
Yeah. Tassort is going very well.
And what price is it on the website?
I'll just tell you now.
65,000, is it?
Yeah, she wasn't. So the Tassort Olympic Dream. No, that's the other one.
That's the other one.
We've got 2 Tassorts on there.
And he is a belter.
He is actually. We filmed him, didn't we?
Yeah, and the brother. But if you were going for the filly,
yeah. So it's the Tassort Zem Factor filly, 68,000.
from the same family as your song.
Yep.
So how much was it? Sorry.
68.
68,000. That's for the whole thing. So you imagine.
It's Magic Millions. What's that? 6.5. 6.
I think it's 3,400 for 5%.
Okay. And she was out of book 2.
Yeah. So from the Magic Million sale.
We've actually seen this filly. We've seen her in the flesh. We've seen him. Jack's just broken her in.
Yep.
And if you are to go on Stridle, there's a great video there just talking about Jack and why he bought her. Yeah, she was beautiful. She was a really lovely type, actually.
So again,
I was expecting her to be a pre-Christmas 2-year-old.
But the beauty again, go to the website, compare prices, sires, sales.
Yeah, have a look.
Locations. We're likely to be wrong because if it was easy, I'd be buying the Group 1 horse myself.
Well, we'd have multiple Group 1 horses. Instead, we've got 3 retired ones in our backyard.
And again, Canasta.
Yeah.
The sister's on the website. I think is it sister?
It is sister. What's it by?
It's out of Gander. I think it's Russian Revolution, maybe.
I think it might be the Russian.
Annabelle Neesham. Major Stable trains Canasta. I think it runs this weekend. If it wins Canasta, the value of that yearling, did you find it?
I'm just bringing it up now.
Out of Gander.
Yep.
What's it by?
Russian.
So the Russian Revolution on the website.
Yep.
I think is it this
$150,000 purchase.
It's 150,000 from which sale?
Magic's.
Trained by
Annabelle Neesham.
The brother of the sister runs on Saturday. It must be the sister Canasta runs on Saturday.
So, yep, out of the Encusta Delago Meganda, a regal bred daughter of multiple Group 1 winner Tempest Morn and proven producer talented Group 3 winner Tempt Me Not.
So just to kind of close out that.
And this is a colt.
So so the Gander that's on the website is by Russian Revolution.
Yep.
It's a colt.
Trained by Annabelle Neesham.
the half sister trained by Annabelle Nisham runs on Saturday and is in the Slipper Market.
Yes.
It's by Capitalist, I think, off the top of my head. If that wins, I can't imagine that horse will last long on the Straddle ownership marketplace.
No, but well, look, 150,000, which I know is a lot of money, but when we're comparing it to the Group 1 winners we've just spoke about, for a family as good as that, and a colt,
I can nearly guess that if that horse wins on Saturday,
this
that
will be
horse
sold out.
it won't be available on Sunday.
No, it won't be.
But again, look, those people who are interested in racehorse ownership and you want to race with a trusted trainer or a licensed syndication, head to Strido's ownership marketplace, search around the filters which are valuable to yourself, trainer, etc., price point, all the sales are there. We're expecting an influx again now that the Premier sale should be finished in the next couple of days, and we're nowhere near the likes of Easter, etc. yet. Adelaide, etc. There's quite a few sales still to come, so...
Can I just highlight one more thing?
Yeah, I'm in asking you. Sorry.
I wasn't
Do you
able
have-
to.
Sorry, Hills. Do you have one that stands out for yourself?
Well, mine was the Written Tycoon.
Yep.
That was mine. But just to wrap up today's, and I've just lost my page, so I'm just going to find it for us. We have a lovely jockey back in town.
Yep.
Flies in today.
Yep.
Gets back on her first one tomorrow.
Yep.
Is Straddle Ambassador.
Yep.
Who is it now?
Rachel King.
So she's back for a big season. Now, I just wanted to talk about, she just had a short stint in Japan, and I just had my stats there a minute ago. See, I can find them. All right. One last thing I wanted to mention. Straddle Ambassador, jockey Rachel King returns from her short stint in Japan.
Yep. Successful stint.
Everything she touched turned to gold, which you can only expect. She's coming in to the Autumn Carnival on a high.
Yep.
She's got epic horses.
Yep.
For the season. In the 2 months, David, how many rides do you think she was given?
Be sub 200.
139.
Okay. Yep. Still a big number.
How many winners do you think that she produced from that?
Just 139. Most jockeys run between 12 and 15%. Like, I don't know.
She's in a foreign country, remember? Nobody knows her.
So let's just say 9 winners, which is below my stat. 16
winners,
Jesus.
12 seconds, 17 thirds, 6 fourths, and 8 fifths. This is huge, right? How many of them do you think was stakes wins?
4?
7.
7 stakes wins.
7 stake wins from 16 winners.
Jesus.
So when she did win,
45% strike rate.
she did a bloody good job getting all the right races. Anyway, a huge welcome back to Rachel King, who's been Straddle's ambassador. She's been out in Asia, head to toe in Straddle, promoting racehorse ownership in Australia, which is fantastic for us. The Australian horses do so well there. They've bought a lot of bloodstock out of Australia, which have gone on to be huge producers in Japan.
Including She Will Reign.
Including She Will Reign. Derby's got 3 out there, I think.
Yeah,
3 mares, I
Yankee
think.
Rose, which is the dam of the Japanese Oaks winner, the runaway horse.
But yeah.
Sorry, I can't remember off the top of my head, but we'll keep that for another day. Yep.
She returns back. So she flies back this afternoon. So she's been over there in the freezing cold, minus whatever it was. It's actually funny because most of her photos that she sent me was her wearing a poncho down to the start because the weather is pretty awful this time of year. She's arriving back today. She's off to Kembla tomorrow. No rest for the wicked.
Good time of year to come back with, again, these major races coming up. I'm not going to start a rumour. She came back for Stormboy. Look, it's unconfirmed.
That's a rumour.
Yeah,
that's a huge rumour.
Well, you got to be in it to win it. So maybe she's come back at the right time. She rides for Gay. So you never know. Someone might put the wrong nomination acceptance and the jockey in.
Jockey's closed. That's it. Rachel King's on.
I said R. I thought you meant Rachel, not Ryan.
Tough go.
James.
Anyway, we'll try and endeavour to get Rachel on.
Yep.
We'll do a bit of a wrap up on what happened in Japan,
Yep.
what she took away from that, what
Yep.
she's looking forward to the autumn.
Love it.
Epic. Husband, it's been so great spending some time with you.
Yeah, anyway, download the Horse Trader book, have a bit of a listen.
Yeah, download the Horse Trader book, get onto Straddle, buy your next racehorse quickly before all the siblings start to win.
Yep.
Back Rachel King. That's 3 great tips for the week.
Anyway, thanks for joining us on the Unplugged podcast.
Can't wait to see you next time.
Thank you.